Hello there, I am ANVECOM, and it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year, everybody. It's been an absolute nightmare of a year, hasn't it? It's Christmas time, and with Christmas time comes a lot of new players to Splatoon 2. And unlike previous years where I've glossed over this and I've decided, you know what, I'm gonna do fake smurfing basically, I figured that I could give the new players some helpful advice. That's right, today I'm starting out with some essential pointers that I think every new player should know. And then I will jump into a lobby and provide situational knowledge in real time. Now, the important stuff that every player should know. Every new player should know. Splatoon is a game about map control. If you have ink down on the ground, you can move freely, your teammates can move freely, you have an easier time pushing, and the opposing team has a harder time pushing. It is essential to the game regardless of what mode you are playing. Goodness, I'm not quite warmed up today, am I? That felt a little bit better. Alright. The next thing that I've found to be super important is spatial awareness. If you press X, you will see an overhead map of whatever stage you're on. This is just the training room. So, it's just me by myself. But in actual gameplay, you will be able to see your teammates, and you'll be able to see... Let's head over here. Yeah, I haven't painted this area. You can see actual movement of ink on screen, including for the opposing team. So, once you get used to using the map, a couple of quick glances will provide you all the information that you need in regards to where the enemy team is. Another thing I should add is that you should probably use headphones if you have the option to. I personally play Splatoon exclusively using headphones, and I find that the stereo separation and imaging and all that whatnot is extremely helpful. The last thing I want to talk about are control schemes. I do not use motion controls. I've played this game for over 1,000 hours, and I cannot use them for the life of me. I use stick controls with stick sensitivity set to -1.5. It's just, motion controls give me a headache, and if they give you a headache, it's perfectly okay. I am telling you right now that unless if you are trying to be an absolute monster, that you don't need motion controls. Heck, I would consider myself quite a formidable player, and I don't use motion controls. But motion controls have their perks. If you practice a lot, and I mean a lot, you can get to the level of precision that one would find using a keyboard and mouse. Additionally, motion controls can provide you greater mobility since you can directly paint your feet underneath you just with a quick flick of your controller. As for stick controls, well, they're inherently more stable. You leave the reticle in one spot, it stays in that spot regardless of what you do with your controller. It's just stable. If you're familiar with other shooter games, you should be fine. Although one thing that I must add is that Splatoon and Splatoon 2 have no aim assist whatsoever. So everything that you see here is actually lining up your shots, absolutely no help from the game whatsoever. Anyway, let's get into the more practical real-time knowledge stuff. Let's jump into a lobby. And we have humpback pump track. This stage, it is difficult to keep track of the enemy team. It is especially important to use the map on this stage. And we have a blaster. Interesting. Blasters are pretty much noob killers, but they can't paint ground very well, so if you're using a rather fast weapon, you can pretty much just push and overwhelm. I've gone straight onto mid, because in especially higher level play, the center of the stage is the most important area of the stage. It is where all pushes originate from. So even with all these guides that say to ink spawn first, I say ink mid first. You can I also recommend inking some ground along the way to where that you reach a point in which your special is charged as you reach mid. But early on, inking spawn first gives you a positional disadvantage, and in ranked, there really is no point in inking spawn. You actually want to leave spawn open in a ranked match to where that you can just throw bombs in random directions every time you respawn and get your special charge back. And my special's charged. This roller is over here, and oh my goodness, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Okay. That is a perfect example of what I was saying about blasters earlier. He was just stuck in my ink. He was unable to put down any ground. And I was just able to walk circles around him and body him. And there's a brush over here. Woo! That was close. Alright, brushes are pretty much a pain to deal with. You have to pay attention to where that they're approaching. Because in lower level lobbies, brushes really like to run straight forward and then just start spamming at you. So they're difficult to catch in that regard, but their range is rather limited, so you can just pull back a little bit while you're attacking them. And with octo brushes, you probably trade. Octo brushes are pretty nasty, but ink brushes' ranges are extremely limited. So for the most part, you will be fine. Speaking of the brush, there's the brush. Yeah, brushes just dead stop, and they can't move while they're flinging ink around. They're basically locked dead in place, so once they start, you can just kind of pull back and they stop dealing damage to you. Alright, this is an excellent example of how to use a roller. So, every new player ever is enticed to just run forward with the roller, just inking the ground that way, and then running straight into people. In my experience, low level, of course it works, but that it only works in low level mindsets. Once you really understand movement and how the game works, it just doesn't play out very well. What you want to do with the roller, it is yeah. I was too busy talking to notice the blaster. Alright, so, with a roller, rollers are extremely high risk, high reward. They require excellent situational awareness, and they require your ability to know exactly when to push. You're not just walking straight forward. You see somebody's run out of ink or they're in between shots. You charge straight up with a vertical flick or horizontal flick. It's not just slowly walk up trying to crush. Very important detail. And, well, that's how rollers play at higher levels. Let's stay in this lobby. I'm talking too much. And Mako Mart. This stage, I really enjoy mid on this stage. Unfortunately, spawn is extremely small, and it's easy to camp, which actually further incentivizes rushing mid. Again, I don't immediately recommend rushing straight into mid unless if you feel rather confident in your skills. I suggest taking a somewhat more leisurely approach that allows you to charge your special on the way. Just looking off to the side, inking around like this. Just gentle sweeping motions. Or the equivalent depending on what weapon you're using. Because in lower ranks, specials are they have significantly greater value than in higher ranks. Because in higher ranks, it's just, players are just easier at evading stuff. And you're pinned in a corner. That's one of the... Yeah. Brushes have some interesting positional properties, and rollers share the same properties. Basically, if there is a roller in your immediate proximity and you have high ground, say you're up on this platform, and the roller's on low ground, the roller can kill you from an angle in which you can't hit him. So your best option is to use your sub-weapon, your grenade, if you will, in an attempt to gain some space back. That brush is approaching here. I'm leaving you alone. The map is pretty... Somebody pushing left. I'm not sure. Doesn't look like it. That brush is just camping their snipe point. Their dynamo rollers with them. I don't have that much to say about dynamo rollers other than they are a high priority target. You definitely want to know where they are at all times. And if they aren't paying attention to you, go in for the kill. They are an absolute pain to deal with otherwise. Let's see here. Splattershot Jr. Splattershot Jr. is a solid beginner support-oriented weapon, especially the Vanilla Jr. The best... I should quickly go over specials. Alright. The best specials are, I would say, Ink Armor and Booyah Bomb. Stingray is also especially good, but it has a really high skill floor and also an extraordinarily high skill ceiling. Ultra Stamp will also probably be effective in lower levels. It's the giant hammer thing that just plows forward. How to deal with those? You basically strafe to the side. They get caught on terrain rather easily, which leaves the user completely exposed from the sides. And that's a baller. And I've lost all spatial awareness because I'm talking too much. Alright. Yeah, that hamster wheel thing is called a baller. You can basically dump bombs at it and just... Yeah, the baller isn't very good. Basically, a baller will try to charge straight at you or something along those lines, but they take damage and knockback from bombs. So, just dump bombs, shoot at it, and you'll either deter the baller player or just break the baller and leave the opponents completely exposed. And I really need to focus on the game more. We just got clapped then. And Mako Mart again. I am happy to see this stage. I prefer it over Humpback Pump Track. There are just a handful of stages, and Turf War has, it's significantly more difficult to design a good Turf War stage than a ranked stage, because Turf War in and of itself is decentralized. Action can be happening anywhere on the map, whereas obviously in a ranked mode, everyone's going to be focusing on the objective. Let's see, that slosher there is... Yeah, they got a sniper covering there. Snipers you handle right. When I was talking about that Splatling, that game had a disconnect. I throw out games with disconnects because they're basically free wins or losses. But yeah, Splatoon has no backfill system or anything like that. It doesn't even have servers outside of the matchmaking system, which, honestly, even the matchmaking system itself has issues. So, yeah. Basically, jumping into a lobby is a time commitment for 3 or 4 minutes. Which, it isn't a huge deal, but it's definitely something to take note of. I shouldn't be pushing that brush. That's a huge mistake. Right, they have a slosher. Now, there are 2 immediate kinds of sloshers that you will see, pretty much regardless. The most common picks would be the regular slosher, slosher deco, soda slosher, and the tri-slosher. The tri-slosher is handled completely differently from the vanilla slosher. The vanilla slosher is in a similar scenario as the blaster, in which it has limited painting ability, and if you can approach it from the side, you just kill it. As you can see, I just strafed to that player's side, and I was completely untouched. That is an Ultra Stamp. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Again, the best way to handle an Ultra Stamp is to move to the sides. And just let it go past. Hopefully escape or kill the Ultra Stamp wielder. Now, back to sloshers. The Tri-Slosher is an excellent beginner pick. It gives you a solid, viable kit that is easy to use and puts you in a prime position to understand the inner workings of the game. Now, how to deal with the Tri-Slosher? Now, unlike the vanilla slosher, the Tri-Slosher has a really wide spread, but it's very short-ranged. So instead of strafing to the side and just continuing to stay inside the Tri-Slosher's giant hitbox, you want to walk directly away from it while attacking it. Goodness, that Stingray. See, Stingray in the right situation is extraordinarily destructive, but it's very difficult to use. I can attest to it being very difficult to use. Let's see. But yeah, best way to handle a Tri-Slosher is to walk straight back and continue shooting at it as it attempts to kill you. You just outrange it. It's a rather one-dimensional weapon. Easy kill. Oh yeah, there's the 3 other things. The Arrow Spray, the Sploosh-O-Matic, and the Clash Blaster. The Arrow Spray has practically no kill power whatsoever. So, it is overwhelmed by pretty much everything. However, due to its excellent painting ability, you could easily get trapped in its ink. The Sploosh-O-Matic, similar vein as the Tri-Slosher, but it's a bit faster. It basically has to charge forward directly at you, so you walk straight back while you attack it. Clash Blaster. If you're running with something with better range than a Clash Blaster, you should be fine. But if you have something, let's say you're using a Splatter Shot or an N-Zap or something shorter range than that, the best way to get rid of a Clash Blaster is to absolutely body it. Its TTK is garbage. So, just plow forward, and unless said Clash Blaster has excellent aim, which, honestly, it's a Clash Blaster, you will take a decent amount of damage, in most cases, but you will succeed in absolutely annihilating the Clash Blaster. And goodness, this has just been me talking a lot. I just hope that you guys found it helpful or interesting or useful. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for watching. I am ANVECOM, and I will see you next time.